So without further ado, I would like to bring to the stage my friend, Casey Craichy.
Man, that makes you want to. Am I live? Good afternoon. That makes you want to dance, doesn't it? That music. Elliot, first of all, give a big hand for Elliot who's doing all this. You know, I didn't know who Elliot was. You talked about that story, Elliot. I didn't know who you were, and as soon as we met, I don't know anybody who doesn't know who you are. It was like the craziest thing. So you're using fuel for 10 years before we even connected. And that does show you're above average in intelligence, I must say. We've done some nice shows together, and you know, we all have pieces of a bigger mission to change lives. And all of you are here to take yourselves to higher levels, to be the stronger version of you, as Elliot would say. So we were involved in strength camps, and it's just been a great experience. But the best of it is getting to know the Hulses. They're a special family, and we appreciate knowing you, and we're making this work together. So I'm going to do something a little different today because, as Elliot describes, you people are going to higher levels, not just in your strength and not just in your performance, but also in your lives. So in doing so, I'm going to tell a story. I'm going to tell a love story, a 30-year love story. And you're asking yourself right now, what does a love story have to do with my performance, with my recovery, with my being a better version of myself, a stronger version of myself? My wife, when I met her, was Miss Florida and went to Miss America and won the Town Award. And then she came back and crossed over and won Miss Florida USA and went to Miss USA. She won first in swimsuit and third runner-up at Miss USA. I mean, an amazing woman. But I'm going to tell you that we were only married for 3 years, had one son, and my wife came down with clinical depression, panic attacks, suicidal thoughts out of nowhere. This woman who would go anywhere, she would fly to the Middle East and perform a concert for a king and fly all over the country and do anything, fearless, was now bound to her room, her bed, for 2 weeks. It wouldn't come out. We took her to the doctor because I didn't know what else to do. And the doctors were screwing her up with Xanax and Zoloft and psychotherapy. I mean, literally, she went from being a vibrant personality to being just flat, mellow, just no highs, no lows. It was no time at all where we realized this is just not going to work. She was zoned out. And so I decided at that point I was going to dive in the literature, and I wasn't coming out without an answer. And so over a 10-year period of research and trial and error, now I came from as a CEO of a medical device company, but I decided to go back. I don't care what Dr. Joe said today or what the other doctor said 10 years ago. I want to know what they're studying to see what is the results of that. And so why this matters to you is that during this period, the day my daughter was born, Grace, the day that my daughter was born, Living Fuel was finished. See, this product was a product of me doing the research and mixing all things together so that my wife could be healthy. So every morning I would be mixing 17 different things together and giving her a pile of supplements. And one day I said, honey, I'm going to make the perfect food. And, you know, being the amazing wife that she is, because behind every good man is a great woman, she said, honey, you do that. And so I spent this whole year of developing this product. And the day my daughter was born, Grace, the Living Fuel was born, and we sold the first one. So I'm telling you this story because I built these boxes was our first production run. That was it. And we delivered it from our home, from our living room. So I'm telling you a story of a love story and a health story and a success story Because literally, the first year in business, from March 25th, 2002 to December 31st, we were in every state in the United States, including Alaska, Hawaii, Guam, and Puerto Rico. We didn't have any employees. This is what you see right here. We were shipping from the house. And then all these years later, we're all around the world, and we're recommended by doctors, elite trainers, professional sports teams, Elliott Hulse. Why? Because the human physiology has requirements. See, your body is made of every nutrient on the element chart, every element on the element chart. And there are things in the human body that are essential for your performance, but also for your life and for your proper aging and for your recovery and all that sort of thing. Yes, this is about recovery, but understanding that a sick person on the edge, at the height of their sickness, and an athlete pushing himself to the very edge has enormous similarities, which you wouldn't find unless you were looking on both sides of that. So when you look at what a human body needs to perform, you have, just so you know, this is my family today after all that. So there are 7 keys that I discovered in this quest over 10 years. 7 keys that everyone here needs to take note of, and we'll talk a little bit about these today. And if I don't think my books are here. Is this the same place, Elliot, where they're going to have the conference tomorrow? The booths and all? Oh, it's over there. Okay. All right, so come to the booth tomorrow, and I'll be happy to sign a free book for you while they last. But we're going to go into a little bit of this today. Okay, so these 7 areas, when you hear more about them, you'll say, yeah, I didn't really think about that. But if you write these down and take an assessment of yourself, when we look back at my wife and her condition, her situation, she was literally rock bottom on all of these. I'm telling you, if you have all of these, if you're deficient in any of them, you have physiologic consequences as a result, and every one of them matter to your performance and to your recovery. So starting right in with hydration. Have you ever heard someone, raise your hand if you ever heard someone or are someone who says, I hate water? Okay, raise your hand if you are that person. Great. Awesome. Elliot, you're teaching some good stuff. So we are 70% water, okay? And if you are hating water, you literally have self-hate. You're hating yourself. Because every system in the body is designed to flow. When you think about like a spring, like a waterfall like this, versus a pond that has muck and stuff growing in it, okay? Your lymph system, your blood system, your respiratory system, every system is designed to flow. And when we get stagnation, we have problems. Like in athleticism, when we have a dehydration situation, we actually, when you think about you're mostly water, and your blood is clearly mostly water, when you reduce the volume of the blood, you increase the viscosity or the thickness of the blood, and then trying to pump that blood through your organs, first of all, your heart rate's got to pump a lot faster with a lot less efficiency, and your organs will rebel against thick blood. Does that make sense to everyone? So hydration, when we're talking about hydration, recovery is all part of this, right? So in recovery, rehydration or staying hydrated is an important piece, correct? So we're going to throw in pieces of this recovery performance thing in each of these areas. So the obvious one is, if you're working out hard and you lose a liter of sweat, and then you drink a liter of water, how much water will you retain? Anybody know? Who said that? Good, right on. If you lose a liter of sweat and you drink a liter of water, you're going to lose a half a liter. Okay? A half a liter could be very significant. Now, when you think about thick blood has all kinds of problems too. When you think about blood clots in the calves, blood clots in the heart, blood clots in the brain, when you have thicker blood, it's not a good thing. So when you think about hydration, what is a way to increase your hydration? Well, the University of Texas did a study, and they did athletes. They had one group of athletes drink water only. Second group of athletes were drinking water with carbohydrates and electrolytes. And the third group was drinking water, carbohydrates, electrolytes, and protein. So interestingly, the water, as we just said, they ended up with half the hydration restoration with just drinking water. With drinking the water with electrolytes and carbohydrate, they got 70%, up to 75% rehydration. But when you add protein to the same mix, it increases the rehydration from 75 max percent to 92%. Simple little thing, but hydration is the cooling system of the body. There's so many things going on with hydration. So you got to manage this. If you're just drinking water to offset what you're doing, you're going south. Like for instance, if you're doing this competition and you're just drinking water, you're not getting everything you need to get rehydrated. Does that make sense? So there's all these questions, and we do answer them in the book and on livingfuel.com. There's all these questions. What kind of water should I be drinking? What kind of water filtration system is okay? Should I be distilled water? Should I have spring water? Is drinking water okay? I mean, there's a lot of questions along here, right? So ideally, you'll drink water in its natural state. This comes from an aquifer, which means spring water. Anything that says spring water on it is generally good, okay? Spring water comes from the ground, has minerals in it, and that's good. So if you drink things like Dasani or the other bottling company water, what that is basically tap water from Atlanta, Georgia that they run through a filtration system, and they throw a couple minerals back. So when you think about there being 50 plus minerals, when you call trace minerals, I mean, the number is very large. When you think about someone filtering the water, first of all, they're not filtering everything out. And secondly, they're only throwing a couple of things back in. So you're missing a whole lot in that scenario. So spring water, ideally, the thing about tap water that I want to warn you about, first of all, is tap water is better than any not drinking water. Okay, if you have to drink tap water, drink water. You got to be hydrated. But tap water has so many impurities in it, but it also kills the gut flora in your gut. So that's your immunity, okay? So the chlorine and the chloramine and all those things from tap water are going to cause problems. So at a minimum, if you can go down to Walmart or somewhere and buy the carbon filter that you put on your sink or the pitcher where you can filter out, you're better off. But again, when you filter out the water, this is again with athletes, with extreme athletes particularly, when you drink water that has no minerals in it, then you literally are losing your minerals while you're trying to rehydrate, which is going the opposite direction. Exercise, I'm not going to tell this group a lot about exercise. I'll leave that to Elliot. But I do want to say is many of us think that we can eat poorly because we exercise, that we can overcompensate for a poor diet with exercise. And I'm here to tell you that is not the case. So if you know recovery nutrition, tell me something. What do you do after your workout and within how long? You tell me. How long after your workout do you do something and what do you do nutritionally? Within an hour, 2 hours, gets protein and carbs. What does anybody else do? Somebody else tell me their method? 40 minutes? Is it liquid? Is it a sandwich? What is it? Drink? Solids. So you eat food. Okay, this is an important area. This may be one of the most important things you guys are going to learn today because I'm not hearing. Now, raise your hand if you don't really do anything. You work out and then you go on with your life. Nobody wants to raise their hand, but there's a couple honest people in here. So, okay, if you don't do post-recovery nutrition, and we'll go into chocolate milk here. It could have been in the hydration section. But chocolate milk, they did a lot of studies on chocolate milk. And here's a study out of the University of Texas also, where they had one group would work out. They had 5 groups of people. I'm sorry, 3 groups of people. They were all out-of-shape people that are exercised at 70% of VO2 max, maximum oxygen consumption, right? And so as they increase over 5 weeks, as their ability to have more oxygen increased, they adjusted their workload to keep them at 70%. So they gave the first group an isocaloric mixture, which they thought was a post-workout drink. It's a 0 calorie, nothing in there. It was a placebo. They gave the second group carbohydrates and a carbohydrate beverage, like a lot of people do for a post-workout. And the third group, they gave chocolate milk. So interestingly, the chocolate milk group increased their training adaptions. They were able to double the rate of increase of VO2 max over the other 2 groups. Double. That's oxygen capability. That's doubling the capability just from drinking chocolate milk. So at the end of the training 5 weeks, they had the most muscle mass and the least body fat of all of the groups. See, a lot of people will work out a little bit and just forget about the post-exercise recovery piece because we don't want the extra calories. But the truth is, if you can shift the metabolic machinery, you can actually get benefits greater than people trying other things. Just glycogen replenishment is not just the answer. See, people just want carbs to get glycogen back in their muscles, but there's a whole lot more going on there. We'll get back to that shortly. Stress. Now, workout is a stress, right? Workout is a stress, and that's a good stress. There are good stresses and bad stresses. So competitive stress, that is a good stress. But if you have repetitive stress, that will tear you down. That will cause cortisol to rise. How many know that cortisol is not good in what you're trying to accomplish? Okay, everybody. So stress by itself will increase your cortisol levels. So I'm talking about relationship stress, financial stress. I mean, some of the other stresses of like not sleeping enough and not eating right and overtraining. There's a lot of things that will cause stress and cause your hormone balance to be off. So I won't go into a lot there. I just want you to understand that if you have constant feeling of knots in your stomach, constant stress, then something needs to happen to give you a peace so that you can get back on track and overcome deal with life. Sleep. Now, anybody here have a baby? Okay, so a few people have babies. So when you say something, how'd you sleep? Oh, I slept like a baby. They either haven't had a baby or only slept 3 hours at a time. Okay? So sleeping like a baby wouldn't be our ideal method of sleep. But what I do want to tell you about sleep is in recovery, sleep is when you make testosterone. That's when you make HGH, GH actually. This is when your body restores. There's a period of time where your body goes through sleep cycles where restoration and muscle growth and de-stressors and all the things that you want. I mean, literally, if sleep were a pill, you would pay any amount for it. Because a lot of us think we're tough because we can go with less sleep. But the truth is, if you sleep 6.5 hours or less, your chances of gaining weight or not being able to lose weight or not being able to perform at the max is very high. So it's a miracle. Sleep is a miracle, and if you're not sleeping, we need to take a look at why we're not sleeping. Now, you can go to Amazon.com for $8 to $10 and buy blue light lenses. Okay? I recommend this to everyone. So after the sun goes down, if you'll put these astute-looking teacher glasses on while you watch TV or while you read your phone or while you do anything that's emitting a blue light, you will actually increase your quality of your sleep because blue light will stimulate your brain and make it think it's daytime right up to the time you go to bed. And if you're peeking at your phone without these glasses on, the blue light is going to cause you problems because what we need is full spectrum light. See, if we're in lights like this all the time or in fluorescent lights or those sort of things, we need to make sure we're getting out and getting sun on our body because it is very important. But I'm just telling you, there's a little trick about sleep. The other things are your room should be completely dark. Now, a lot of people like a night light or a window open, drapes open, that sort of thing. But the truth is that if you have light in night, it blocks your melatonin production. Now, melatonin is a tremendous antioxidant, but also helps your sleep cycles. It actually modulates your sleep cycles in a very positive way. So if you're getting up at night and turning the light on or watching TV or whatever the case may be, you will block your melatonin production, which is not something you want to do. It's hyper-aging to do that. So there's a lot of things regarding sleep, but don't have a mess in your room. Make it as orderly as you can because you want to have because your peripheral vision picks up clutter, and clutter equals stress. Stress equals poor sleep, and you see how the cycle works. So it's a piece of it. Sleep matters to your recovery and performance. Environmental hazards. Environmental hazards are the deodorant you try to use, the tap water that you're drinking, the pesticides that are sprayed at your apartment or your house, the chemicals that are in your house. Paying attention to endocrine disrupting things. It could be just having plastic too much in your diet or drinking out of plastic cups or plastic straws or whatever the case would be too much. or having water bottles that have been heated, and you drink those and you get some hazards. Now, these things are small each time, but they're cumulative, and they cause significant problems with your performance, with your sleep, with your stress, with your hormone capability. And so it's very important that you start paying attention to the little things like eating fast food, eating fried foods. These things all have a detrimental effect on your body, and it's a load that builds up. It's not something you just do away with. So considering your nutrition as an important aspect, something worth investing in, trying to save a little money on nutrition, you're better off to skip a meal and pay more for the next meal than to eat some of these meals. Now, I see no smiles. Am I taking away your Happy Meals or what? I'm just talking about perfection. Now, we eat for building blocks, fuel, and fun. That's the reasons we eat. The reasons we should eat are building blocks and fuel, but food is one of the most fun things we can do, right? So you have to have your never eat list, and you have to have your eat, what I'm willing to eat, okay? So if you talk about training and nutrition, we're talking about making sure that we cover our foundation before we go and dipping into the fun. See, a lot of the problem is that 100 years ago, it is estimated that the average intake of sugar per person per year was 5 pounds per year per person. Now, mom would make an apple pie. You'd go to the store and you get a little bit of candy for a treat. But it was a relatively small part of the diet. Today, sugar has made its way into the foundation of our diets. So if it was 5 pounds a year 100 years ago, what is the average intake per person today? 60. That's a huge increase. Who else? Okay, it's going up. Per person, on the average sugar intake is 150 pounds per year. Somebody's eating my sugar, and that's still an average. Now, sugar is a wonderful dessert. But I'm here to tell you that sugar, I know this has environmental hazards, but sugar is a toxin unless used strategically. So there's no valid reason other than fun to eat sugar other than in and around a workout. So if you want to treat yourself, that's another thing. I'm just talking about your staple and your foundation. Sugar is designed, should be used strategically in and around a workout. So we'll get back to nutrition in a second. All I'm going to say on meditation and prayer is, again, if you don't spend time reflecting and meditating on things bigger than you and the one who even made you, then the research shows, let's just say the University of Duke University, they did a study called the Mantra Project. They're supposedly trying to disprove prayer, but what they showed is that they put half of the cardiac patients on prayer lists worldwide, and the other half, they didn't do anything. And they didn't tell anybody what was going on. And the patients that were on the prayer list had 50% less side effects, 50% less side effects. Now, that's statistically significant by any measure. So the net of it is, it's real, it's important, and if you don't do this piece of it, if you don't put this into your life, then there's going to be some lack of peace and some stress and some poor sleep and some other things that are going to work against you. So back to nutrition. So we talked about the importance of recovery. So raise your hand again if recovery nutrition is a planned part of your daily regime, workout. Okay, that's awesome. Raise your hand if you eat solid foods for your recovery. Sandwiches, meals. Okay. Raise your hand if you wait at least 45 minutes before you do your recovery meal. Okay. One last, raise your hand. Raise your hand if protein and carbs are a part of your recovery. Okay. Okay, so we got some tweaks to do here, and tweaks are going to be really important for you guys, okay? So during exercise, there's certain changes that happen in the body that are beneficial to you later. So what I want to tell you today, first of all, is that recovery starts 30 minutes before you work out. So we all think about having a chocolate milk after our workout, and there are studies to show that is positive. But if you think about recovery happens the moment breakdown happens. There's going to be recovery processes. So you think of it that way. So I'm going to go back to the recovery, back to the post-workout recovery fuel that you guys are doing right now, just so we can lock that down, and then I'll go back, okay? So the ones of you who are drinking protein and carbs, how many are doing chocolate milk? Raise your hand. Okay, there's only 5 people doing chocolate milk. Of the people doing chocolate milk, can you tell me what is in your chocolate milk? What is the sugar? Is that a question or a statement? Oh, but do you buy chocolate milk that doesn't have dextrose? Sucrose? Yours doesn't? What does it have? Okay. So, the recovery protein stimulates muscle protein synthesis. Okay, do y'all know what muscle protein synthesis is? Okay, there's some heads nodding, some doesn't look so confident, so I'll just tell you. When you eat protein, or you take amino acids, or you drink a protein shake, it goes into your body as a raw material. And from that raw material, the body will start tearing away at that raw material and pull out of that raw material what we call, first and foremost, essential amino acids, which are roughly half of the dietary essential amino acids. So when the body delivers those essential amino acids to the bloodstream, it goes in the bloodstream, and the essential amino acids, they trigger muscle protein synthesis. They trigger the body to start taking the pieces again, and taking the pieces and stacking them back together as your muscle and your tissue and whatever other part of your body. So when you think about protein as a raw material, amino acids are better because the raw material has already been broken down, and it goes much faster. So when you think about recovery, you want to stimulate muscle protein synthesis. Now, you talked about making your own chocolate milk. That is a really good idea because a lot of people are allergic to milk or dairy or whey protein, all that sort of thing. A lot of people, more people than you realize. So you can make it with coconut milk and that sort of thing. So the research would suggest that you ought to be low fat in your chocolate, not because fat's bad, because fat is really important. It's just that you're trying to speed through the portal vein and uptake into the bloodstream. And so low fat chocolate milk with sugar is what you're going to want, not high fructose corn syrup. See, if you just go down the store and you buy yourself a chocolate milk and you drink it and you say, I'm fine, and you didn't read the label, you may as well have not drank that chocolate milk because high fructose corn syrup does not, or high fructose of any kind, fructose does not elevate insulin in the body. It's another pathway. So insulin is the other trigger. I said amino acids, protein amino acids. Insulin is another trigger for protein synthesis. Now, what happens during protein synthesis? Guys, you're gonna like this because your body, yes, is making muscle, but it's also increasing the mitochondrial density in your muscles. Mitochondrial density are the powerhouse energy producers in the body, and it's also stimulating the body to produce additional red blood cells. Why is that important? Because red blood cells bring oxygen, right? So your capability, I talked about the VO2 max going up twice the rate of people that are doing protein and carbs, because when you take the protein and carbs at the right amounts, you actually stimulate new blood cells, mitochondrial density, and muscle protein synthesis. So these are very important pieces of the equation. Now, many of you talked about an hour or 2 hours after. This is something you're going to want to take home, because recovery, when you wait 1 hour, 2 hours, 3 hours for recovery, the body sensitivity to muscle protein synthesis and blood cells and mitochondrial density is dramatically reduced. So you could take the best possible protein 3 hours later, and it's 20% as good as taking the worst possible protein within 30 minutes. So when you think about this time, when you consider this time, if you want to be more athletic, if you want to have training adaptions, if you want to shift the norepinephrine and epinephrine and cortisol, you want to shift it back to anabolic, you got to consider all these things I'm saying here. Because another area of recovery is immunity, right? How many people know that if you work out really hard, your chance of getting sick are higher? Right. Why? Because when you drop blood sugar and you drop glutamine and you basically cause the body to be in catabolic mode, you actually reduce immunity on a parallel basis. So the trick would be, when I talked about recovery starts 30 minutes before the workout, if you have carb and protein and vitamins and all those sort of things 30 minutes before you work out, you keep your you get your insulin going, which starts that sensitivity right away, and insulin is used positively to offset the catabolic state of the other hormones. So it's really important that we consider that the after fuel, or we call in sport and recovery. Okay, so the in sport and recovery nutrition is every bit as important as your workout. And the thing is, you're doing the hard part. You're doing the workout.
Did you check it yet?
But many of you are not getting the fullness of that workout because you haven't focused on the nutrition aspect of that. So, anyone, raise your hand if you already are going to pay special attention to nutrition based on what we already talked about. Okay, good. I like that. Awesome. So, if you start 15 minutes to 30 minutes before your workout, start sipping on a protein carb beverage. The more nutrients, the better, because you're losing things while you work out. If you're a strength athlete, you're probably only going to access in a strong workout 40% of your muscle glycogen. Okay, so you've heard about 4-to-1 carb to protein ratio. That's really more for endurance athletes. So depending on the intensity of your workout, you're only going to access glycogen. Glycogen is stored sugar in the muscles. Y'all know that? Okay, so glycogen in the muscles will be used less on a strength workout than it will be on an endurance workout. But the trick is, if you can start your recovery before your workout, you actually keep your blood sugar high enough to where you can spare the glycogen. It's called glycogen sparing. What does that mean? That means you don't require your body to go into your muscles and pull out the sugar, because that's the process that releases lactic acid in the muscles. So if you can keep your blood sugar constant, I'm not talking about going crazy. I'm talking about sipping this thing throughout. Anytime you would drink water, you would drink this combination I'm talking about. And so they've done studies now to show that people that drink pre and in sport get similar results to people who just drink post sport. And so it was clear that it's better to drink pre and in sport and post sport. That's the ideal scenario if you're going to drive training adaptations that you want. Does that make sense to you guys? So when you have solid food, here's the problem. We talked about the body tearing out the nutrients it needs. When you eat solid food an hour after your workout, you still got another hour to go before your body starts releasing the amino acids that you want now. Okay, remember, maximum efficiency of digestion and use of nutrition happens in that really 1 hour window, but most of the guys are saying now 45 minutes, and they're even saying 30 minutes. So a lot of people need to change the way you think, and within 15 minutes to 30 minutes after finishing your workout, you will consume your post-workout beverage. So you have to plan that. You have to actually decide, I'm going to go to the gym. A lot of people say, I'm going to go to the gym and work out, and then they mess around and go home and end up going to breakfast, and here we go 2 hours later, you're starting a meal that's going to take an hour to start digesting, and you miss the window. Does that make sense to y'all? So ideally, you won't miss the window. And I hope this next slide, I hope they got it going. Before I go there, I want to ask questions on recovery, because I'm going to take a little aside here in a second. Pills? Like amino acid pills? Okay, so they really just, within 15 minutes, they start releasing. Okay, so a powder's best because a powder, amino acid. And when I say amino acids, I'm not just talking about branched chain amino acids. Branched chain amino acids are truly muscle fuel, okay? But there are more than just leucine, valine, and isoleucine. Those are 3 of the 8 to 10 to 12, depending on conditionally essential amino acids that are required. See, we're not just talking about muscles here. You have a whole body here we're trying to deal with. So we're not just talking about, let's just see how we can make our muscles look at the end of the workout. You want to see how your performance is and how every function in your body is working. So if your body requires essential nutrition, which we'll go into in a minute, essential nutrition, there are 53 known essential nutrients, plus a myriad of trace minerals and trace nutrients and conditionally essential nutrients and nutrients we haven't even discovered yet that are essential. So if you're not getting everything, then you have a consequence coming. And so it may be that you're going to age faster, or you may have a genetic predisposition to something that will be more likely because you didn't handle the nutrition properly, or if you eat foods that are toxic, fried foods, those sort of things. If you eat foods that are toxic, packaged foods a lot of times, that will cause deficiencies in other areas and cause you problems. So what we're talking about here is ideal. None of us are going to be perfect. But if you focus on the building blocks and fuel aspect, then you will actually find much better results than you're actually getting now. Because again, I want to say that your workout is the hard part. That's the hard. If you can do that, this is drinking yummy stuff during and after your workout. Absolutely. This group from the University of Texas, it's a great question. The group from the University of Texas, where they were drinking the chocolate milk and they were working out at 70% VO2 max, and they would adjust that every week based on their increased capability. And they found at the end of that study that they were adding chocolate milk to a diet that didn't have chocolate milk in it before, right? And they found at the end of that study that they were leaner, their muscle mass was higher, and their fat mass was lower. So this is a period of time. There is a window of time from just pre to 30 minutes to 45 minutes post-workout that the machinery for anti-aging and youth and strength and performance is so incredible, it is almost a crime to miss that window. So the better you can put in you. Now the body will do a lot of things with things that are cheap, like cheap nutrients. You know, the kind you buy off the shelf, the muscle milks and those sort of things. You can get away with that, but over time, if you're drinking products that have artificial colors and artificial flavors and artificial this and that, it's going to cost you over time. But a lot of people are willing to pay that price now to get some of the benefits we're talking about, because you can get benefits with lesser things. So I would encourage you to add some sugar to the mix that you're making. Now, if you are doing strength training and your intensity is low, then you can get away with a 1-to-1 carb to protein ratio. If your intensity is low and you still want training adaptions, 1-to-1 carb. So if you have protein of 10 grams, 10 grams of carbs, right? 20 grams of protein, 20 grams of carbs. More likely at least 20, right? So if you are a crossover athlete that does strength and aerobic to some level, then you have somewhere between a 2.5 to 1 is what the research is saying. So it's kind of if it's high intensity, it's 2.5 to 4 to 1. So 4 to 1 is what everyone talks about. 4 to 1 is what chocolate milk is. Guess what? Guess why people talk about 4 to 1? Because the cheapest thing they could use for the study was chocolate milk, and it's 4 to 1. So that's why you hear all these things. The ratio of 4 to 1 is perfect. Yeah, it can be. It is in a lot of cases. Yes? Interesting. 16 ounces. 16 ounces to maybe another 8 ounces on top of that, depending on the intensity. So again, I'm telling you, if you're doing a low-intensity workout, you don't want to take all of that carb. You want to make sure that you adjust the ratio. Yes, somebody over here. Over here. Sucrose, the things that just say sugar, coconut sugar. I mean, these sugars, it's better to have sugar that has color, because bleached sugars are taxing to your system. Okay, so this period of time, this window of time, you can get away with it. Yes? Right. 15, say 15. I usually go with 15, but some of the researchers are saying 30. That's helpful, because like a banana would have some good sugars in it, but you have a heavy load of fructose, which is not going to help you during your workout. Okay? It doesn't help your blood sugar levels and insulin levels. Right? Is that your question? Okay? Ideally, it will be liquid. No, fruit becomes liquid very quickly, so I'm not saying it's a bad idea. Orange juice has some good sugars in it. So start sipping. I'm not talking about take a slam. I'm talking about start sipping. If you're going to work out for an hour and you have your amount of water you would drink during that time, and let's just say it's 7 ounces, 6 ounces for 15 minutes or 24 ounces or whatever it is for the hour. If you have, like in Sport Recovery, which is the product we make, we tell people to make 4 scoops, put it in that amount of water, and sip it, start sipping it 15 minutes before your workout, and sip it throughout the workout anytime you would have otherwise had water or any other drink. And that really is an extraordinary job. You, sir. Yes.
Everything I do is really high intensity and really low reps, like 5 reps is a lot. I really do that except for mass game cases. And for me personally, if I have something to eat more or less than an hour before I work out, it affects my performance. I don't digest it very well, and it kind of like makes me feel lethargic and full, and I'm not able to breathe and do the things that I usually do. So what do you recommend for that?
That is a great question, because digestion is the enemy of performance. Hear me on that. Digestion is the enemy of performance. And we've all had a big meal and then went to work out, and it's not working out so well. Well, endurance athletes know this very well, that if they put stuff in their stomach, their body will make them throw up, right? So the most highly digestible thing you can have as close to the beginning of the workout as possible is what you want to do. Okay, so like our in-sport recovery example is you would start sipping that 15 minutes before the workout, and then you would drink that throughout the workout, and at the end of it, you would have another one for recovery. Does that make sense? That will not be heavy in your stomach, and it's already pre-digested. It has amino acids in it and protein. It is micronutrition. Okay, so it will digest. It's very important you figure that out, because if you're making great gains now, the gains you will make if you incorporate these things will be extraordinary. Yes?
For afterward, I usually try to cook some food because not only is cooking one of my hobbies, but I think get more benefit from having like organic foods and chicken, vegetables, and all that. And how do I keep that, like keep being able to cook and being able to have fresh foods? Because I don't like pre-making food, but still have that when you're.
Okay, it's a great question also. Guys, you must make this window. You are making great gains, but you're missing the window. Okay, your gains are going to be extraordinary when you figure this out. Because making your own food is terrific, guys, but if you're making your own food and eating it right after a workout, you're missing the window because of the digestion time required to do that. See, that meal should be saved for 3 hours after the second you stop working out. In the meantime, in that first piece, that's when you want to hit the recovery fuel. Does that make sense? So I recommend you try Living Fuel too, because okay, good. It will be extraordinary. But the Living Fuel in-sport recovery is the thing I'm talking about. Yes. Absolutely. Well, if you don't buy organic food, then you're eating genetically modified food for sure. Okay? Genetically modified food is very toxic. And I just spoke in Dallas 2 weeks ago at the Global Live Symposium for Truth About Cancer. It was a major event. And so many of the speakers are talking about the direct correlation between genetically modified foods and cancer and all kinds of other things. So it's not only the genetically modified food that's the problem, it's the fact that when you have genetically modified seed, it requires things like Roundup, glyphosate, other chemicals required to grow it, and that chemical comes back to you. So the Environmental Working Group has published, y'all can look at EWG.com. EWG.com. They publish a list every year. They call it the clean, the dirty dozen and the clean 13 or something like that. And they talk about the fruits and vegetables that it's okay to eat, not organic, and the fruits and vegetables that are not okay to eat, not organic. Okay? It's very important that you understand that if you're eating the peeling of something, that's really the net of it. If you're eating the peeling, you don't want to eat it, because if it's conventionally grown. Over here.
I got 2 questions. One, you have this emphasis on sugar, but how much sugar?
That's again a great question. See, a lot of research is done around 50 grams of sugar per training hour, max intensity training hour. Okay, so it really kind of goes back to whether we're going for the 2-to-1 or 1-to-1, 2-to-1, or 4-to-1 ratio, right? So you want to keep your protein, like your protein during and your protein after, somewhere around 20 grams during and 20 grams after, okay? So if you use the protein or the protein-amino acid combination as your base, you can easily figure the sugar amount. Does that make sense?
My other one is, what if you're doing a ketosis diet and it's mainly like fats and very low carb and semi-low protein?
All right, I know that's going to get a lot of just play here. You do ketosis?
I used to.
Okay. Who's doing that in here? Who's a ketogenic diet? Okay. Okay, 3. There's a lot of benefits to a ketogenic diet. I mean, first of all, every cell in the body can thrive, can burn sugar, can live on sugar. But cancer cells are the primary fuel for a cancer cell is sugar. So if you have a ketogenic diet, that means your body is burning fats primarily, okay? And the fats, the ketones that come off the fat metabolism, the brain can work off of that and the amino acids that are in the system. And so if you have a ketogenic diet, the ketones, the cancer cells cannot live on ketogenic cells. So there's plenty of research coming out now that people who had cancer went ketogenic and they were able to starve the cancer because they weren't giving it sugar. So that's an important piece of that. But his question is, hey, if you're in a ketogenic diet like some of you guys, how do you do the in-sport recovery without you doing the sugar thing? Is that what you're saying? Right. So most of you know that if you're in ketogenesis, how many of you use keto sticks to figure out whether you're in or out? Keto sticks? Nobody? How do you know if you're in ketogenesis? I'm sorry? Blood? You take a blood test every time you want to find out if you're ketogenesis? Okay, well, you can do that, but we bounce in and out of ketogenesis. Anybody who knows who's done it very long is that we bounce in and out of that depending on what's going on in our system. Sometimes you can't even figure out why you're out of ketogenesis, all right? So my belief is that going into a workout situation, now there have been research studies to show now that somehow ketogenic athletes, this is really endurance athletes, because see, you have enough fat at 20% fat, you have enough fat to run from Orlando to Washington, D.C. if you could access it, okay? But you don't only have enough to go from Orlando to Longwood of sugar, right? So that the sugar's not going to take you very far. So the question is, how do we access this fat? And for endurance athletes, it's now been shown that you can do that through a ketogenic diet, and there's a lot of ketogenic athletes doing that. So, but when you come down to performance athletes or strength athletes like you guys, it's like, ketogenesis, I don't know of any examples yet of anybody who's won competitions as ketogenic athletes. Has anybody got any examples of that? 500 pounds is pretty good. So, maybe you can bench 500 pounds if you go to ketosis, I don't know. But the point is that the research has focused around carbs and protein, okay? But the research now is showing that somehow a ketogenic person, a ketogenic diet, will eventually refill glycogen deprivation. So if you're an endurance athlete or something like that, somehow your glycogen is going to get restored, but so your body is primarily accessing sugar and not fats. Fats, not sugar.
You were saying BCAAs aren't the only amino acids you want to get, and I recently started taking liver tabs, and they also have a bunch of non-essential amino acids, so I was just wondering if you could kind of expand upon the amino acid profile. If they're non-essential, then are they essential?
By the way, whatever you're doing is working, bro. Keep going. He says, are non-essential amino acids, are they not essential? The truth of the matter is every amino acid is essential. Okay? Let's get that out of the way. Every amino acid is essential. There's about 21 dietary amino acids that you eat, and the body uses them well. But the research has been done by Dr. Wolf, okay, and associates at University of Arkansas that suggests that taking amino acids, well, let's go back a little bit. See, again, amino acids are dietary amino acids. Roughly half of them are called non-essential, okay? I like to rename them. Half of the amino acids are dietary essential. Get that in mind. dietary essential amino acids. What does that mean? That means your body cannot produce those amino acids unless they have the foundational amino acids. You got to have these amino acids in order to make other amino acids. So the things described as non-essential amino acids are amino acids that your body already makes if it has enough of the primary essential amino acids. Does that make sense? So if you're just taking BCAAs, branched chain amino acids, it is literally muscle fuel. I mean, it's one of the ones that gets oxidized less in the liver and is delivered to the muscles, okay? But when you think about everything in your body, from your blood to your bones to your hormones to your, everything going on, amino means at the first, okay? So amino acids are involved in everything. Your body makes tons of different kinds of proteins from the essential amino acids, dietary essential amino acids. So it's really important that you take the full complement of essential amino acids if you're going to take them, and high leucine is good. Have a higher percentage of BCAAs, could be 40% of that, something along those lines. So since we're running out of time here, let me just continue and see if this did y'all get this video working? I hope you did. Y'all recognize this guy? All right, so how do I play? You got it. All right, Danny's the techno dude. The point of this video is to show even someone as fit and as Elliot can. Do we have sound? Okay. That there is actually. Oh, I don't want to go there. Okay.
Yo, so I want to make this video real quick. It's going to look like a Living Fuel commercial, but, this just happens to be what I'm doing. You could do it any way you want. It's totally up to you. But yesterday I mentioned that I was doing a micro fast. So basically, it's like intermittent fasting or like the warrior diet, where you take just micronutrients during the day and then eat a meal at night. And generally the meal is going to be like lean meat and vegetables for me. Past 3 weeks since I left Craichy's house, and he mentioned this to me, I've lost about 11 pounds. And I'm not shredded by any means, but it's a simple diet that I feel nourished, I feel energetic, I feel bright, I feel great. So I figure I just let you guys know what I'm doing. There's ways to modify it for yourself, but I'll hook you up. So the very first thing is, in between shakes for the day, I take 5 of these. You can buy any fish oil caps. I think if you're not using this one, I think the best one that you could probably buy is Carlson's. And for my children, we use Nordic Naturals. My kids also take fish oil capsules. So Nordic Naturals, Carlson's, you can buy those at the store. I use Living Fuel because Casey's my boy and I buy his products. So I take 5 of these, all right? I'm not gonna do it now because actually, you know what? I'll take these now. Let me get some water. So like I said, you can use whatever brand you want. I mean, quite frankly, do your research and figure out what brand suits your purposes. But anyway, so I take 5 of these, and real men take them all at one time, right? I'll take a little fire. Real men let the water dribble. So that's it. I take 5 of these. I'm gonna wait about 20 minutes, just because from what I've read, I don't fucking know what goes on inside my belly, but the fiber can disrupt your body's ability to absorb the fish oils if you do it right away. Oh, that's new to you, right, Danny?
Anything?
They just say that if the food that you're eating has a lot of fiber, it'll have a tendency to suck up.
So if I use fiber with my aminos and stuff.
No, just the fish oils.
Just fish oils.
Just the oils. They say take the fish oils on basically an empty stomach or 20 minutes before.
Oh, okay.
Your meal. So I take this 20 minutes before. So I'll show you guys how I make it, but I'm gonna take this 20 minutes. Anyway, big old scoop of psyllium husk fiber. This is my favorite brand, quite frankly, Yerba Prima. It just makes your poop nice and fluffy. I'm all about that healthy digestion.
Why is that your favorite brand though?
Because if you look, you've got 2 different types of psyllium husk. You got the ones that's really ground really fine. This is kind of a little bit heavier, like bigger grains. And I don't know, for some reason I like the way it feels better in my body. I can actually feel the effects of it in my colon, my digestive system. So as I shit, I can tell.
If you leave it in the water, does it get gooey?
Yeah, it
That's what mine does.
It starts getting swollen.
Yeah.
And the ground psyllium fiber does that more easily. It'll really swell up. So I don't know. I mean, rotate between ground psyllium and whole psyllium. Whole husks. I like the whole husks, but doesn't mean I'm right. Just telling you what I like. Green supplement, right? What the fuck? Like, everybody, like I gotta be right. Like, you know what Elliot Health said? Look, don't listen to Elliot Health. Do what the fuck you want, but I'm just telling you what I do. A green supplement. Look, quite frankly, I don't think there's a better green supplement on the market. Like I said, I don't want this to be a commercial. It really isn't. You know, I'm not getting paid for this. But there really is no other green product on the market that covers the spectrum of phytonutrients and macronutrients that Living Fuel does. It just doesn't exist. I've tried. What's that one everybody was promoting for a while? They've got a good affiliate program, but their product is like garbage. What is it, Athletic Greens? Not impressed. Sorry, Athletic Greens, sue me. But I just wasn't impressed, so I went right back to Living Fuel. So that's one that you really, I would say, invest in. Today I'm sending 5 bottles of Living Fuel out to the winners of the meme contest from last week. So all I do is I do half a scoop of this, boom, and I mean, if you go on Living Fuel's website, you'll see all of the amazing superfoods. Casey Craichy's funny. He'll tell you what, more potassium than a banana, more
In like 10 bananas.
more protein, more protein than a
More
dozen
protein
eggs.
than- right, yeah.
He just goes on and on. That's funny. But look, I mean, the fact is, there's a lot of really good stuff in here. I only take half a scoop, obviously because that's what he told me to do, and I'm following his routine here. But that's only about, I mean, that's less than 100 calories. So calories stay really low during the day. If I were you, I would do some research, right? Don't take Elliot Hulse's word for it, but do some research on calorie restriction, optimum nutrition diets. You know, Ori Hofmeckler has a few books in this way. He calls it the Warrior Diet, and there's one book I've referenced for probably the past 5 years, Minimum Fat, Maximum Muscle. That's another good one. But anyway, that's what we're doing here. It's calorie restriction. During the day, I'm taking in like maybe 200, 300 calories, not much at all. Then amino acids. Again, Casey's my boy, so I use his products. Get your own, it doesn't matter, or buy his. But I take 2 scoops of aminos. So the whole idea with a micro fast is you're getting in the micronutrients as opposed to the macronutrients. You understand that, right? You guys that balance macros or count your macros, what are you counting? Carbs, proteins, fats. Well, if you break those down, the fats, you've got the DHA, EPAs, and all that, GLAs. There's all like the micro portions of that, and you're taking like the stuff that's good for you, and in the pill form, as opposed to like a hunk of pork fat or something, or what did they used to cook with back in the day? Lard. Like, yeah, of course, yeah.
Of time, let's give Elliot a big hand. Hey, good stuff. You know, I think that thing's pushing 1 million views now. It's got a lot of interest out there. So the reason I cut it short is because my time is short, and I want to make sure if I can get a question or 2 answered, I will. But the net of it is that nutrition can have enormous impact. The reason I want you to see this is because I want you to see that your impact of your workout. You're working out, guys. You're doing the hard part. But if you want to have energy in your workout to push you to the max, and you want to sleep better, guess what? Working out makes you sleep better. Nutrition makes you sleep better. It makes you lower stress. I mean, all these keys work together in trying to make you guys the better, the stronger version of yourself. So the net of it is that what I want you to pull out of this is to say, yes, we talked about recovery a lot, but performance and recovery are hand in hand. Performance nutrition is recovery nutrition if you really get it right. So you could take pieces of the puzzle. You could take a little bit of what you learned today and do cheap versions of it and be way better off than you would be if you didn't do it at all. But if you haven't learned anything today, liquid nutrition is what you want in and out of a workout. Liquid nutrition. You want to make sure you hit that post-workout window. That means before you work out, when you have your workout listed, what you're going to do today, there should be something at the end that says, this is what I'm drinking at the end. Or even at the beginning that says, okay, I'm going to start sipping now, and I'm going to do it till the end, and then I'm going to have a post-workout. So if you consider the impact of that, I know during this week, Living Fuel provided a whole can of in-sport recovery to every athlete in the competition. Now, the ones who choose not to use it are going to be an extreme disadvantage to the ones who are using it, because the net of it is not possible to perform as well without it as you can with it. That's the net of it. So I hope you got that out of it today, that nutrition is the most maximum impact piece of all of this, although all of the pieces are important, all the pieces of the puzzle. But this is where you can go from the worst scenario of say, not eating or eating something toxic to eating the very best possible thing, and your strength and performance gains will be massive. I'll give you another example. This is another example of a gentleman who did the microfast. Now, microfast, Elliot did microfast. Elliot, did you do 2 meals a day or 3? He did 2 meals, then he ate protein greens dinner, if I remember right. Okay? So that means that every meal that you can get everything your body needs without calories, you've supported a lot of things and a lot of performance going on. So this gentleman did it differently. Every day he had living fuel. One day he had living fuel, the second day he had just aminos. So this is another way to do intermittent fasting. You eat one day, you don't eat the other day, because alternate day calorie restriction gives you the same benefit as everyday calorie restriction, same way in fasting. So if you do opposite days. So this gentleman did this program for 12 weeks where he also worked out at Gold's Gym, and this was his response. He was already a workout guy, but this is 12 weeks of work. It's pretty significant by any measure, wouldn't you think? It would not have happened without having extreme nutrition during this period of time. Now, for those who are in competition, they're trying to cut down, it's better to do microfast than it is to do chicken and water, because chicken and water is just going to give you essential and non-essential amino acids, and water, when you do something like I'm talking about, you're getting everything your body needs, so your body's not asking for anything, and it's thriving while you're cutting. So keep this in mind. Another tidbit, it's worth writing down. You won't hear it anywhere else. If you are dieting and cutting, your body requires about 25% additional protein. Calories drive protein uptake. So keep that in mind. Another example. 60-year-old gentleman on the left, 315 pounds. On the right, he's doing something right, wouldn't you say? 30 days he did the microfast, only 3 meals a day. Subsequent to that, he did microfast 1 meal, 2 meals living fuel, and then he says for the rest of his life, he's a professor of a college, and a dean of a college, in fact, in Maryland. He says for the rest of his life, he'll have 2 living fuels a day and 1 other meal. This is him 1 year later. If you look again, this was on the right was his 60th birthday, and on the right, this is his 61st birthday. His life has changed. He has no more cardiac meds, no more meds of any kind, and perfect health, and added years to his life and life to his years. So I'll close with a quick story. There's a lady, Lori Snyder, and you hear me keep going back from health to performance, from health to performance. They are the same. If you are doing nutrition in order to have maximum performance, that also is the nutrition for your health, assuming you're not sedentary. Because if you're sedentary and you don't have to be, then that's a real problem. This woman, Lori Snyder, was an MS patient. Her doctor put her on living fuel. She had the goal of climbing the top 7 peaks of mountains in the world. She decided before Mount Everest in her training session, she called us up and says, KC, told me her story, and she says, would you please give me a flag? I would like to fly that flag at the top of Mount Everest when I make it up. Now this is the base camp where they stay for 2 weeks to get acclimated. There's a place on the mountain, on every mountain, where you see the vegetation changes dramatically. They call this the snake line. So you get above the snake line and you can no longer eat because of your digestion is the enemy of performance. What she told us was she was able to put living fuel in her water bottles and was able to nourish herself all the way to the peak. When she got to the peak, she flew the living fuel flag. She only had 10 minutes at the peak because there were 60-mile-an-hour winds, guys. That's a very big wind at the top of a mountain. But she flew the flag anyway. And so when we got back and reported that story, we had an email from a polio patient that said, there's nothing I wouldn't do to be able to climb the tallest mountain and scream how much I love living fuel. So what I'm leaving with today is that if you are young, you all are young now. If you start today and you start focusing in the area of nutrition, you will add years to your life and life to your years. So my question is, what story will you be writing? What is your story? God bless you guys. It's been a great pleasure. Honor.
Let's give it up for KC.